Hey, what's happening? It's Bill Smith. So, over the last 3 to 4 weeks, I've gotten a lot more interested in the source of information. I realize that by the time it hits YouTube, it's already like 2 or 3 levels removed. It's kind of similar if it's on Twitter or Facebook, and it's really easy to take something out of context and then have that be the truth, you know? So, I think most of us that make these types of videos, we always try to trace it back to like whatever source you're using. I go off of like a lot of mainstream media articles, for example, just because if they're going to publish it, it's out there, so why not report on it? But there's a big difference between a magazine like Cosmopolitan and a random account on Twitter. Okay, so one of the things I thought about recently was this app Operation Backyard Brawl. Everybody's talking about it. It's a conversation we're going to keep having, and rightfully so. I think it's a great conversation to have, even if that thing isn't, quote unquote, like rape camp or whatever. Even if it's just a coyote camp. I doubt it's a homeless camp. I just highly doubt that it's a homeless camp. So, any exposure to any of that is good for me. Plus, it puts people's attention down by the border, and there's lots of. I'm sure there's shaky stuff going on in Tucson, so we should just keep looking. So what struck me weird about this hashtag was it was just like all the other hashtags. They started giving you wrong spellings. And then as you pick the wrong spellings, then the first hashtag is diluted and then it stops trending. So this is the first time I've ever tracked one of these down. I decided to take a look just to see how it works. And this is the very first tweet from Operation Backyard Brawl. It was made by Kat Gardino. That's her account right there. And I looked at Kat's account, and she seems like a really legit person. She seems like a really nice person. This all seems real, It seems that way. And, there's people that I follow that follow her, who I think are legit. So, and there's lots of good stuff on here. It's a really active page. I can see why people would want to follow it. It's got good information. All very accurate. Okay. So that was the very first tweet. And notice it got a retweet and it got 3 likes. And then, the next one was another retweet and a couple likes and a retweet and then a comment and a like. So it took off pretty quickly. There was activity, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. Now, this was on June 1st, 2018, at 9:57 a.m. Okay, the first one the misspelling shows up is on June 3rd. Here's the timestamp on that. 3:47 p.m. on the 3rd of June. Okay, so what happened was this person stacked it as the top, and I don't know if maybe Twitter gave them a misspelling and they clicked it. That's possible. Or maybe they did this on purpose. Just, kind of thinking out loud here. Now, see, it's 2 days later, right? And there's no activity on it. No comments, retweets, or likes. And then the next one comes the same day. So there's the timestamp on that one, 4:05. So they're pretty close together, right? 3:47 p.m. and then 4:05 p.m. And then watch this. That's the first one that links the two. So the first ones were just 2 misspellings to show that they exist, and then there was a follow-up tweet to link them together. See the 2 of them? And they were all done apart by less than, like 3 hours? So they seeded the misspelling on these 2 accounts, it looks like, and then they linked them together. And this is the first one they got a comment. So they put a comment on there that gave it a little bit more juice. And then notice how it took off. Now this one's got some activity on it. And that's just for this. So you can come look at this yourself. I'm not saying that any of this are, I'm not saying they're not shill accounts or anything. I'm not even sure it was on purpose. I don't know. I'm just saying this is how it happened. So this is the first one to tweet out the wrong label. And, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It could have just totally been an accident. You know? This was the second one, I think, to tweet. This was the one to link them all together. Now, the weird part is over here, sometimes this doesn't show up, even though that's the real one. For a while, only the misspelling was showing up. And then sometimes the misspelling would show up capitalized, but the real one would show up all lowercase. I mean, they did a lot of things to people to keep them from trending that hashtag. To me, it looks suspicious. I'll just say that. It looks suspicious that these early tweets would have... This is the very first tweet, I'm telling you. This is the very first tweet ever to use this. And this is how it skipped over from Facebook onto the Twitter platform. Is this tweet right here. So Kat Gardino is responsible for taking Operation Backyard Brawl off of Facebook and putting it on Twitter. She was the very first person to do it. So good job, Kat. So I like looking at this stuff because I like seeing how information flows. And these systems, it's one thing to have a, your finger on the button somewhere in the company, right? But it's a whole other thing to be able to defeat these kind of things from outside where we're at. So I don't know if this was on accident. Again, this was the first one. And then 2 days later, here was the misspelling. The first time we saw the misspelling show up. How quickly it took off. It could just be an innocent mistake that just made its way in. It could be, 2 or 3 controlled accounts did this and no one will ever know. If I didn't make this video, no one would ever know about Connie D. Weeds or Mrs. Swiss. No one would ever know. No one on Twitter is going to go through this. No one's going back to see what the very first usage of a hashtag was. The the Spy account, you go back, that account dates to like 2015. And I would say with that one, I'd be like, yeah, well, it's possible that tweet was hanging out there. The handle was up for grabs. Someone grabbed the free handle after it had already been used, and then the tweet's linked up. But what are the odds that people would have the exact same feedback about that person's personality within 2 or 3 tweets? It's just unlikely. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying it's unlikely that would happen. So there's the big mystery solved, okay? This is how Operation Backyard Brawl, the hashtag, came to being 2 days later after Operation Backyard Brawl started to take off. Until next time, this is Bill Smith. Thanks for watching.